There we go, lovely. So I'll introduce myself initially. So I'm Hannah. I'm one of the employability consultants that works in the School of Management, and I'll be kind of the host and facilitator today. Today's session is going to be run by Rob, who you should be able to see on your screens as well. A couple of things before I pass over. We are welcoming questions. We'll do kind of a question session at the end after Rob is kind of done talking. If you want to, you can submit the questions via the chat function, which is completely kind of private. If you want to submit them directly to me, and then I will ask the questions at the end. Or if you are comfortable to, you're more than welcome to ask the question yourself and turn your video and audio on at that time. Okay, so I will pass over to Rob. I'll just do a brief intro. So Rob actually studied at the School of Management from 2015 to 2019 and graduated with a first in economics and business, is that right?
I did, yeah.
Excellent.
Lots of hard work, but I did it, yeah.
Amazing achievement, well done.
Thank you.
Rob actually did a year in industry placement with us as well at Airbus, and then has rejoined Airbus as a graduate.
That's right.
So I will pass over to you now. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm just a question from my side. Is everyone in this call students in their first year or second year? What sort of stage are they up to? Do you know?
I will see if we get any responses on the chat.
Yeah, I guess if everyone puts in the chat first, second, third years, it would be useful for me to know, just so I know how to pitch it. Okay, yeah, first year from Callum, thank you. I'm assuming most people will be first years. Is that who you were mainly targeting this talk at?
We advertised it to all students. We've advertised it to School of Management and to engineering, so we should have quite a nice mix.
Well, I won't dwell on it, but yeah, final year. Yeah, we've got one final year. Great. Okay, I'll jump into it then. So I'll need to share my screen. There we go. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, that looks great.
Great, you've got the presentation. I will make a start. Play from start. Okay, so welcome everyone. So I'm here to talk to you today a bit about my journey from being a Swansea undergraduate to procurement graduate. So it's a pleasure to be with you today to do a live Zoom session and almost return virtually to university to speak to you. So a real pleasure to join you. So yeah, how time flies by, if you pardon the pun. But yeah, as Hannah has mentioned, I was a student at Swansea from September 2015 until June last year, 2019. And I studied economics and business, and I did a year in industry in my third year, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and I did that at Airbus. So yeah, in the end, I achieved first-class honours after all the hard work, and my efforts paid off. So I would encourage you all to, whether you're in your first and second year, or you're in your final year or going into your final year, keep working hard, and I'm sure you'll pull through with a grade that you deserve. So yeah, I very much enjoyed the Swansea lifestyle. I miss it. It was a unique student experience that I'll never forget. You can see there I've got some good highlight photos that I've pulled out of the archives. Yeah, I mean, the fact that you can go to university basically on a beach is like no other, to be honest. And I certainly miss that aspect the most. And yeah, I got involved in quite a few things at uni, in some of the societies, the Economic Society, Business Society. I did badminton as well, which was great fun, and played for the university. And also you can see in my final year, I took the opportunity to share my experience of my placement year, and I was a placement ambassador, which was great fun. And I took part in open day events and did similar presentations to this. And as you can see there at the end, there was a picture of me on graduation day, when it was something like 26 degrees and I had to wear that gown, which isn't fun. So I don't miss that part of graduation day. It was very hot in that gown, but thoroughly enjoyable day. So next up, I really want to just talk about how I sort of got to where I am now. And I've used this title for this slide, the early bird gets the worm, eventually. This will become clear as I take you through this slide. But basically, after I finished my first year at university, I did a variety of different modules as an economics student, and that was quite enjoyable. I decided at the end of, or towards the end of my first year, it would be sensible for me to get some work experience under my belt, because in the past I just had the odd Saturday job, and I wanted something that would be a lot more degree appropriate. So I thought that being an economics student, I would look into maybe working in finance and seeing what that was like. So I applied to a few summer internships and sent my CV off and cover letter off to a variety of different companies. I tried to target companies that were local to where I lived with my parents during the summer. So this was back in Herefordshire, where my family's from. So I targeted companies that were there, and I ended up getting a job at a company called AllPay Limited, who are a fintech company. And they manufacture credit cards and they do all sorts of financial payments, technologies and things like that. So I thought this would be a really good opportunity for me to go and try out working for them. So initially I did 2 weeks work experience with them, and then I was very lucky to be offered, because they were very impressed by my effort. In the first 2 weeks, that they'd take me on for the whole summer, where I was actually paid to do a full-time job as in their accounts payable department. So I got some really good first-hand experience and actually got a real job to do that with real responsibilities. So I would actively encourage you to get in there early. So going back to the title of this slide, get in there early and get some work experience in your first year, and that will help you if you're interested in doing a placement in your third year. So yeah, this really set me up with the vital work experience that you need on your CV to impress those employers for your placement year and beyond. If you're not doing a placement year, it will impress them for your when you actually graduate as well. So yeah, once I got back from that summer and I started my second year, I started applying for third year placements at the beginning of second year. And again, I got in there really early. A lot of the applications start end of August and run for, well, they run all year, but the big companies, particularly Airbus and Rolls-Royce and all these different companies, they have their recruitment processes that tend to run until about November, and then they stop applications for internships or placement years, however you want to call it. So I made sure that I got in there early, and I applied to about 30 different placements, I think it was. I wasn't sort of fixed on which areas. I looked at finance, year in industries, following on from what I did on my internship. I looked at procurement, which is what I'm in now. I looked at supply chain. I looked at HR, various different roles. I wasn't fussy. I was doing an economics and business degree because, one, I enjoyed the subject of economics, but that didn't necessarily mean I had to be an economist when I came out of university, whilst it's useful to have that mindset. But I was very much interested in working in a business in a core department such as procurement, and that's why I went for it in the end. So I was lucky to get my hard work for applying to all these placements, many countless nights spent applying for these things whilst having to do coursework and exam revision. I got rewarded with an internship within wing procurement at Airbus, which is based in Filton in Bristol. I got that, and at the end of my second year, I made a start in July of 2017. And I finished that a year later. I think all the careers people on the call, they will recall on placement I had to do various, I think it was a weekly log and a diary of what I did during my placement. And you did, it was an assessed sort of year, if you like, and it did count towards your degree. So it was really beneficial from that respect, as well as giving me work experience. So yeah, after a great internship, I decided I wanted to return to Airbus. I think it was September last year, in my final year, so September 2018 it would have been, I had an interview to get fast-tracked onto the procurement graduate scheme, and I skipped all the application process. I just went straight for an interview, and I got in to the graduate scheme that way. And then the whole of my final year was spent with very little stress, having to apply for jobs, because I'd done it all early during the internship phase, and managed to get myself into Airbus. That's how my journey sort of came about, if you like. So I suppose that's an appropriate point to sort of pause before I move on to a bit about what I do at Airbus and what procurement is about. So I don't know if we want to accept questions at this stage.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions now? You could either kind of turn your audio and video on, or you can just type them to us in the chat. Or if you have questions kind of as we go through, we'll kind of collate them and then we can ask them at the end. Any questions at this stage? No? Okay.
No questions? Okay. I'll reshare. I was just checking the chat to see if there were any questions. Okay. So moving on then. There we go. Next slide. Okay, so what is procurement then? So procurement is not that widely well known. People always wonder what actually is it, and what is it in a business? What department is it? So procurement is responsible for providing externally sourced goods and services that meet the quality standards and requirements, and make sure that they're on time for the business, and at a reasonable cost as well for the business. Now there's a disclaimer here that I'm speaking in quite an Airbus context, but procurement for every business is more or less the same, and the process of procurement is very much the same in all big businesses and small ones at that as well. But essentially, you need to, in order to kickstart the procurement process, if you like, in a business, you would need to define what is it that or what commodity or what good or service that you'd like to buy. So you need to come up with a strategy. So within Airbus, a lot of parts are manufactured in-house, and therefore we don't need to actually go out to the market and say we need to buy such and such. So the first stage is defining what actually we need to buy. Next up is we need to collect what we need, and we need to prepare the tendering process. So we need to say to the market, this is what we're looking for, this is what we want to buy, who can make it for us, So we reach out to the market and ask them, can you put together this for us? And we put together often a bidders shortlist. So we put together a list of suppliers, or mainly aerospace suppliers, obviously, and the capable ones. We put a list together and say, here you go, guys, can you make this for us? And they will go away and have a think. Their engineers will have a look at it, and they will then come back to us and say, yes, we can make that part, and it will be this much money. So it's that's what we do, and then we would need to manage that process with them and make sure that it's done in an ethically and compliant way. And then we would choose a supplier. We'd go away and do our own analysis and go, okay, this supplier is probably the best price. They're in a good location. They're a good developing supplier that we feel we could use. So we say, yeah, we're going to approve you as our supplier, and then we're going to issue you a contract, and we'll negotiate that contract with you. And then it's all about, once we've got that contract in place with that supplier, we would then manage it, and we'd potentially need to claim against them if they don't meet the requirements of the contract. Say that they are late, for example, in delivering a part. We would have the right, as per the contract, to maybe claim for damages in cash if they've not delivered on time. And likewise, the supplier, if we've done something that's against the contract with them, they would also have the right to claim money off us. For example, if we change the specification of the product and that required them to increase their capital to manufacture it, then they would have the right to claim against us. So there's all those problems that we'd have to solve. And then moving on to stage 5, we would develop and monitor these suppliers, making sure that we don't have to claim against them, and we make sure that they're really good performing suppliers and give us the best quality parts, and making sure that they're delivered on time and to a good price as well. So it's all about improving and building up a strong relationship with the supplier. And then the final thing is we would obviously order and receive products, and they would come in from the supplier, and we'd fit them to our aircraft and the final product. So yes, I put a little stat in the bottom corner. So around 80% of Airbus activity is sourced. So that's quite a lot of the aircraft that we actually have to buy in from the supply chain. And we work with over 12,000 suppliers worldwide. So quite a number of suppliers that are out there. And where I work in Bristol and Airbus in the UK as a whole, we're only a small part of, procurement is only a small part in the UK. We buy the wings and all the wing parts, but there's procurement in France, Germany, Spain that are all buying individual parts for the aircraft as well. So yeah, very, very interesting. So moving on, so a little bit about what my role in procurement is. You can see in the top right hand corner, that's a picture of me in front of Concorde. There's a Concorde stored at the Airbus site in Bristol. I don't know if any of you guys on the call are aircraft enthusiasts and have been to the museum, but certainly worth a visit if you're interested. And that's quite an inspiring thing to go and visit when you're working in the aerospace industry. But essentially, what is my role in Airbus procurement? So I'm on a 2-year and 3-month graduate program based in Bristol. And this involves a number of rotational placements in different departments. So in September last year when I joined, I started out in procurement for equipment. So I was part of a team that was buying the systems and all the computers and electronic systems for the landing gear on an aircraft. So it was a different type of procurement to what I was familiar with on my internship when I was looking at wings procurement. And now I'm currently in another procurement placement at the moment. I'm in procurement for detailed parts for the wing. So we're buying very specific, unique parts that make up a wing, because a wing isn't just a piece of metal. There's a lot more to it than that. That's the team that I'm in at the moment, and I'm due to start in a few weeks, hopefully. I'm going to be going back into wing procurement for a little bit, and then I will have done all 3 rotations of UK procurement, and then I will be set then to perhaps go on to do placements in procurement operations, so looking more at the logistics and supplier quality side of things, and also perhaps working in procurement ordering, so actually ordering the parts in and managing the delivery to the Airbus sites. So I'm hoping to get involved in that as well. So yeah, definitely it's a graduate scheme that very much allows me to get involved in current and future projects, it's a great chance for me to learn a lot of skills and develop my personal and technical abilities. It's very much a development program. There's some companies that you could just walk into after university that wouldn't offer these graduate schemes, but they're really popular, and it's the focus is on development and everything. So bear that in mind when you're looking for jobs. Are you looking for a graduate scheme when you leave university, where you have the chance to have all this training and development, or are you looking for just a straight job that will probably offer you training but might not give you that same focus as a graduate program? So yeah, what do I get up to in my buyer role? So I'll explain. A buyer is a person who works in a procurement department, whose role is to, as it says, buy parts for the aircraft. So I'm involved in contract management and amending contracts for certain parts for the aircraft. And also I get involved in the development of bespoke process tools that ease the procurement process, make it a lot easier, and gathers data to make it easy to buy parts. Also I use SAP quite a bit, managing purchase orders and things like that. Getting involved in a lot of research and technology projects, so looking at the future of aircraft, and certainly looking at the next generation of aircraft that we might see with decarbonisation, a big topic at the moment in the aircraft industry. Also call for tenders as well. So as I said before, that's a key part of the procurement process, actually going out to the market and saying, can you make this for us and at what price? So I'm actually involved in quite a bit of that and managing that process. And also doing contract claim negotiations. There might be a challenge by a supplier, or we might need to go to the supplier to say you need to pay for this. So we would have to come up with a business case to do so. Also tracking performance with suppliers as well. And it involves quite a lot of project management and risk management, particularly at the moment with the current pandemic. There's a lot of risks in the supply chain. So there's a lot to listen into and manage. So yeah, as you can see at the bottom there, I've got a picture of me at Swansea Careers Fair last October. You may have seen me if any of you on the call that came along that day. And also, whilst on the graduate scheme, I'm given lots of opportunities to get involved in STEM activities, which is encouraging younger people to follow engineering or scientific pathways. So I get involved in quite a lot of those activities. I've had to do quite a lot of them virtually because of the situation, which has been quite interesting. And also I took part in a project management challenge as well, which has trained me up a little bit on project management, which will certainly help me on my role in the future. So yeah, it's not just about the day job, it's training and other things on top of what I actually do on the day job as well, and doing things like this as well, speaking to you guys. So yeah, that's my role. Happy to take further questions. I don't want to go too technical, but hopefully that makes sense on what I do. But that's procurement for you.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Rob.
No problem.
Some elements in there that I would never have thought would be involved in procurement. You know, you talked about the future of aircraft and research and innovation, like that. You know, sounds really exciting. Kind of far from what I would associate to kind of procurement.
There's a lot more to it than meets the eye, I think. And, I think a lot of people don't know what it is because they think it's just buying stuff, but there's more to it than that. So I hope I've emphasised that.
Brilliant. We haven't had any questions from via the chat, so we just would anyone? Oh, here we go. Nope. So, what is the favourite part of your current job role?
Okay, so favourite part of my current job, I would say. It is a good question because I have quite a few favourites of it. I would say getting into the detail of the contracts. So we have numerous contracts that we have with many suppliers, and each of them is very different and negotiated in a slightly different way. So in some of my tasks that I've had to do, I've had to look into the details of these contracts, and it's quite interesting to see how they're written in a different way to benefit Airbus. So that's my favourite part, just dealing with contracts. It's the thing that interests me. And I think as well, doing my economics degree, that kind of mindset that I had to apply to my degree, I've sort of transferred across to working with contracts. So yeah, hope that answers the question. I've just seen a question from Jess. So what would be your top tip for students entering the job market at the moment with COVID-19 in mind? Yes, good question. So I would definitely, as I say, try and get some kind of experience, even if it's a virtual experience. I do know at the moment there's quite a lot out there that you can apply for kind of work from home jobs. So definitely don't be put off by the fact that you can't actually physically go into the office at the moment to do a job. Try something different, and maybe do a job working from home. So just have a look out there and see what's there. I'd also bear in mind that a lot of companies, whilst they might be sort of suspending or postponing graduate schemes starting sort of this year, I would bear in mind that they are going to hire you eventually. Don't be put off the fact that they're postponing it. Have that open mind that companies want graduates. They want the people coming into the company that are the future. So think positive. Whilst it's a pretty horrid situation, just be patient and do what you can in the time. Try and do online courses if you can. There's lots of things out there. You could perhaps do an Excel course or learn a language or anything in the meantime, and you can put that on your CV, and it shows that you're not wasting your time whilst you're kind of waiting to start your job or something like that. So yeah, good question.
I've got a couple of questions, if that's okay. So kind of leading on from some of those quite surprising elements of your role that sounded quite quite exciting. Was procurement at such a large company what you expected when you were studying, or has it been quite different?
So I think when I first started, I didn't really understand how big procurement is in a company. I didn't know much about it, so I thought, well, I'll apply for it for an internship and see what it's like, see how it might suit me. So when I joined on the internship, throughout that year, I saw how major it was and how much cost savings that procurement delivered to the business. Yeah, it wasn't at all like what I was expecting. So yeah, good question. What was your second question, sorry?
So my second question was, is there anything that you wish you had been taught, or you mentioned kind of those Excel courses that people could be doing.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you wish that you'd done while you were still studying that would have helped you in your current role?
I think certainly look at, if you're going into a business function, certainly look at maybe project management courses, and maybe if your degree allows, definitely look at doing a project management module, or I did the final year project as a module. That's the business side of my degree, and that actually prepared me to understand what it was like to run a project with a business. So definitely look at project management as a skill to improve going into a role. That would have been really useful if I'd have known more about it. And it proved that it came in handy what I did in my final year. Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Did you find it easier going into a graduate role after having completed a placement year in comparison to colleagues and students that didn't do a year in industry? Well, yeah, I did find it a lot easier because I did all the hard work for getting an internship in my second year early on, and I got the internship, and because I liked that internship and I enjoyed the company, I was able to get fast tracked, and I cut out having to do another load of applications again in my final year. So it meant I could focus on my degree more. So I do say that you have an advantage if you do the placement year, because you're doing all the work and effort, and you get good at doing applications early on. Okay, yeah, Callum, good question. So what's your best tips for securing a placement for a year in industry? So I would say good tip would be to run like a spreadsheet. So get a spreadsheet of all the firms that you're interested in applying for, and do a spreadsheet of, so I've applied to them on this day, the application deadline is this day, and sort of run a tracker of where you're up to with all your applications, and that helps you manage it properly, and you can manage your inbox in your emails, to have folders for different companies. So if you hear a response back from you can put it in a folder for that company. So manage it like a small project, if you like, and yeah, apply early, and yeah, just make sure that you keep track of all these applications that you're doing, and practice online interviews. Like maybe you can practice video interviews and do a mock interview with perhaps one of the careers team that are on this call, or you could look at doing psychometric tests as well. There's lots of practice tests that you can do online as well. So yeah, those are just some of the things that I would do. So yeah, good question. Is this a pathway you always saw yourself going down prior to university? Yeah, I would say I never saw myself going down this route. I think I left college with having really enjoyed economics at A-level, and I thought let's do it at degree level, because eventually I would like to work in business, be it whatever department. And when I was looking at placements, because I really wanted to do a placement year, because I felt it was vital to getting a job after completing my degree, I made sure that I applied to lots of different things, and procurement sparked my interest because I didn't know a lot about it. So certainly it was something that I developed during my placement rather than something I knew I was going to do before university. Yeah. Any more questions?
Brilliant.
I think we may have answered them all.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, that was
Yeah.
brilliant, Rob. Thank you so much for your time and for
No
putting so
problem.
much kind of care into the presentation as well.
That's great.
As you can see on the screen, Rob is on LinkedIn, and you're happy for people to connect with you. And
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone that didn't want to ask a question on here, or would like some advice, obviously I work for one company and I can't speak for others, but if you want any sort of advice on how application processes work, just messages on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to answer and give it from my side of things, from my perspective. I'm more than happy to do so.
amazing. Brilliant. Okay.
No problem.
Well, I think that's it, as long as we don't have any more questions. As I said, we have recorded today's session, so if you want to kind of refer back to it at any point, we will make it available on YouTube.
Great. I'm going to be YouTube famous. That's
You
good.
are. You're going to be School of Management YouTube famous. We'll be using it everywhere.
Fantastic. I will share it on my LinkedIn for sure. Yeah.
Well, yeah, excellent. Well, thank you everyone for coming. I hope that has been beneficial for you. And Rob, thank you again for your time this afternoon. And I will end it there.